The Tennessee Titans season comes to an end tonight with a 20-16 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville wins the AFC South, and the Titans' offseason begins. Alongside Dr. Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling, taking your phone calls here until midnight on Titans Talkback, presented by Lee Company. Lee Company, all you need. Visit them online at leecompany.com. Our number is 615-737-1045. And Dr. Dyson, it was a great start. It was a good first half from Joshua Dobbs. You have a 100-yard game from Derrick Henry, but ultimately a Josh Allen fumble 6 enough for Jacksonville to win the division.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this was a mirror image of the season, culminating to this final game, final opportunity. Offensive line woes showed up at inopportune times, not be able to protect the quarterback in critical situations, turnovers, not able to score points in the second half. Those are the negative sides of this loss. However, the effort, the resiliency, the perseverance, those takeaways, going through an extensive roster again and still being relevant, have an opportunity, and really a possession away again from making the playoffs. I mean, we're talking about that strip score, and even if they don't get a field goal out of that, the way the defense have been playing the second half, I don't know if Jacksonville is going to be able to go the length of the field and do what it needed to win this football game. I think they had Jacksonville on the ropes. Their defense had to step up and make a play, and we've said this several times on the show. Sometimes, more often than not, in the National Football League, it comes down to one team making one more play than the other because it is such an evenly matched league. It's so balanced, and you just had to make one more play than your opponent, and that's what Jacksonville did today. They made one more big play than their opponent and escape with a victory. You know, it's unfortunate. I hate that. I hate the season's over, man. I was looking forward to make the playoffs. The way the year started, it wasn't the prettiest of seasons, but starting off 7-3, just there was no way I thought we'd be in this situation right now at all. I mean, I've been saying it since jump. They had so much of a head start, even on Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville was just the opposite. I think they were sitting at 3-7 at that point in the season, and I just thought the Titans had too much of a head start to let this thing squander away. And, you know, I got to eat crow on that. It's unfortunate, but I truly believe the Titans would have made the playoffs today. And, again, they did everything they could today to give themselves a chance. Dobbs, was he spectacular? No. But was he serviceable? Absolutely. He did enough. He made you feel confident that he could win that football game. Derrick Henry, you know, had 30 touches, 100-yard game. He was, you know, effective. It's just, again, there's a lot of good things in there. But at the end of the day, the things that were ailing them the whole season showed up in this game. Offensive line play, turnovers, unable to score points in the second half. That's crucial.
615-737-1045, our number. With you for the next hour, reacting to this loss, the 7th consecutive defeat for the Titans, whose season ends tonight in TIAA Bank Field in Jacksonville. We go to the phone lines. Willie Joe begins festivities with us here on Titans Talkback tonight. What's going on, Willie Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to call in. I'm a little upset about this loss, but, you know, this morning when I walked out to where I fed my cows, I stepped in this big pile of green stuff, and then you know what I call that? That was crap. And the crap that I stepped in is about like the offensive game plan that Todd Downing and Mike Vrabel put together. I mean, you go out there with 2 tight ends and a 1 wide receiver, and that guy is Chris Conley, and you got a fullback in Henry on first down. What do you think the Jaguars are thinking? Thank you, Lord. They're running the ball because Chris Conley ain't caught a pass in 3 years in the NFL. So I don't know who they need to talk to about who puts a game plan together. I guess Todd Downing puts together and Mike Vrabel approves it. So if Mike Vrabel approved that game plan on first down, they ran every play on first down. Not one time did they pull the ball and Dobbs roll out to the right. It was wide open the whole night.
Well, they did, and thank you for the call, Willie Joe. To be exact, they ran 24 runs on first down. They ran 4 passes on first down.
Yeah.
24 first down runs, 4 first down passes in this game.
Gosh. And I remember thinking, I was like, if we run one more time on first down, they weren't really giving Jacksonville anything to guess on. They were stacking the line. Again, they went to that odd front. They went 5 down linemen or 5 across the board, whatever you want to call it, and said, daring you to do something different. And again, it's just one of those things. There's that lack of confidence with that offensive line and the abilities to protect. Again, and it showed up right there, especially in the fourth quarter. They have to address that in this offseason, amongst other things. And I'm sure we get into that as we roll along here for the next hour or so. But, that not being able to protect Daly struggled again today. That is crucial. And not being able to score points, which in his tenure, talking about Vrabel now, in his tenure, that hasn't been the case. They've been able to, extend leads and close deals in the fourth quarter. And this year just wasn't there. That magic just wasn't there.
615-737-1045, the number tonight if you want to jump in. We go next to George in Kentucky on Titans Talkback. Hey, George.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, I'm just going to just ditto what the first caller said. It's the play calling. I don't care if Tannehill, I don't care who you had Manning, I don't care who you had back there. If you're running on first down and I can read it and I'm going to stack the middle and you're going to run up the middle every time, yeah, I'm going to beat you. And the defense, why did we not sell out every once in a while? Go for the quarterback. We've been doing it all year, and this year we didn't do it. Once again, it's a coaching issue. I don't care. Tannehill is not the problem. Dobbs is not the problem. It's a coaching problem. And if they don't do something about it, I'm done with the Titans.
Thank you, George. Appreciate the call. 615-737-1045. I think the predictability was an issue in this game. Kevin Dyson, I also think there's only so much you can do on that offensive line when you already have a banged-up group that at full strength was a weakness for this Titans team this year. And, ultimately, this offense in the first half did enough to win the football game. And the offense in the second half could not play up to the level that the defense needed because the defense was picking them up time and time again. Goes back to complimentary football that this team has not played really in the last 2 months.
Yeah, obviously. And I think the defense at some point, and I think we said this several weeks ago, at some point, the defense, the fatigue is going to kick in and not going to be able to save you because they were winning a lot of close games. The defense was having a hold serve, but not able to score points specifically in the second half of games. Would they score for 24 points twice this year, once?
They scored 37 points in 17 fourth quarters this season.
Dang.
In the entire season, they scored 37 points in the fourth quarter.
That's not going to cut it in a league that is built for offense. With the way the rules are and things of that nature, is set up for offense. That's going to make it rough for you to be successful anyway. You can get, I hate to use this term when you talk about sport anyway, you can get lucky a lot of times and maybe itch out a couple of wins here and there, but at some point that's going to catch up to you not be able to score points. You have to be able to score points in the league that allows offense to get the benefit of doubt more often than not.
615-737-1045, our number tonight on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. League Company, all you need online at leaguecompany.com. We go next to Matthew in Hendersonville here with us on the phone line. Say, Matthew.
Listen, I appreciate your show, but I've got to say a few things. 2 costly turnovers by Dobbs. I understand he hasn't gotten a lot of snaps, but why won't he throw the ball? He's trying to play hero ball. He had one job, and that's to stick to the routine. I agree with every other call. We need to fix this O-line. And if you ask me, maybe we look at C.J. Stroud. Poor Cam Ward. What a heart play. He kept us in that game. We were able to do what we needed to do. Dobbs played hero ball, and I'm not interested.
Thank you for the call, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a little harsh on a guy that's only been with the team for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, 17 days. Total.
I mean, quarterback rating tonight for Josh Dobbs of 82.4. He's 20 of 29 for 179 and a touchdown. The pick was costly. The fumble was extremely costly. We've seen 3 quarterbacks this season struggle behind that offensive line.
Yeah.
I don't think this is Josh playing hero ball. This was all you had. These are all the guys that are left that you had still standing in week 18 of the season. And ultimately, you're not able to get it done against a really good defense and a really good team.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I guess we'll pause here for a second when we talk about quarterbacks. You mentioned something to me earlier about potentially the era of Tannehill being gone.
Sure.
In the next year or two, potentially. I think we both agree it's within the next 2 years, if not this next coming year. They're going to have to move on. With that being said, with Malik Willis being the heir apparent as we thought, is he, based on what we've seen so far, and a guy coming in, starting the last 2 games after being here 17 days, is he a perennial starter or perennial backup in the National Football League?
Right now, I don't even think he's a backup. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think that next season you're looking at a situation where Joshua Dobbs is more likely to be the backup to me than Malik Willis. And I believe Joshua Dobbs is a good backup quarterback in this league.
I think he's proved himself now.
That can come in and do a job for you when you need it to be done. And he was fine.
Yeah.
He was okay. He wasn't good enough to win today, but there were a number of issues with this game beyond just the quarterback. And I don't think quarterback is among the biggest issues, but Malik Willis is not ready, doesn't look close to ready to be an NFL quarterback because this franchise, this coaching staff doesn't trust him to run everything that Josh Dobbs was running with a couple days with the playbook.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're looking at either $17.2 million of savings by letting Ryan Tannehill go, $18.8 million of dead cap, but you save $17.2 million against the cap, or you're looking at a scenario where you extend Ryan Tannehill by another season, convert some of that into a bonus, move some of the money down the road against the cap, and save some money next season, and maybe try to go find another quarterback of the future or another option later on in the draft. But then you're just back at square one where you were last year, right?
Right.
Which is, where's that gotten you?
Yep.
7 to 10.
Let me throw a couple of names out there. You mentioned one to me, Garoppolo, if I'm saying his name right.
Jimmy G.
Baker Mayfield's going to be out there. Sam Darnold's going to be out there, I'm assuming.
Right.
Derek
Carr will apparently be out there.
He probably will be out there, and that wouldn't be a bad go-get. I still think he has some mileage in the tank. Trying to think who else may be out there Geno Smith is also a free agent. Thank you, brother. That he also will be out there next year.
Are those guys better than Ryan Tannehill, though? Any of them?
Geno Smith is a Pro Bowler.
Geno Smith's been pretty good this year.
Yeah, he's a Pro
Absolutely.
Bowler. Baker, no. If he's hot, he is, but consistently, no.
Right.
I would still take Tannehill. Jimmy G.
Garoppolo's the interesting one because you could get him for likely a lower number for a shorter amount of years. But again, it feels like an offseason where somebody might really overpay him.
Yeah, I think so, too.
And really give him a big
because he had a
deal.
good stint when he was healthy.
Sure.
And he started to shine again and made himself relevant again. So you're right. Somebody's going to overpay him. It may be Carolina, as we're talking about a couple of quarterbacks from Carolina that may want him. And Geno, are they going to pay him? They didn't want to, they already spent the money on the quarterback and then traded everything for him, or traded away him to get some things back to replace him. So it's going to be interesting offseason. There's a few names of quarterbacks out there. The draft is going to be interesting. I don't know if you can, if we were talking, they're going to be from 10, 11 to 13, 14-ish in the draft.
Yeah, right around 10 to 14.
10 to
14. 10 to 13, yeah.
Okay. So if you're talking about quarterbacks, is there a guy in there that is the man for like a Trevor Lawrence?
I don't think there is this year.
I don't think so either. So I think you have to look at in-house first, health, ability, and I think from that thing you may have 1 more year run, 2-year run, and you get an offensive line in front of them and see what we can do.
615-737-1045, our number. John is in Lebanon, up next here tonight on Titans Talkback. Hey, John.
Hey, guys. I appreciate your time. Dr. Dyson, honor to talk to you. Will, I appreciate everything you've done. Your parents must be proud.
Thank you, sir.
It all comes down to the offensive line, period.
Yeah.
The fact that Mike Munchak is not walking through that door right now is the biggest problem right now. We've got to figure out a coach or something with our offensive line, period. That's all I got. I appreciate you guys.
Yep.
Thanks, John.
I mean, that's football. Starts there. You have to take it off its line. Had to get that piece. And what's interesting is Derrick Henry still had over 1,500 yards rushing with a game missed, with a banged up offensive line.
It's incredible.
So, it's hard to say, oh, they didn't have some success, but you watch the game, the eye test is just not there. I was just seeing guys getting mugged. They was getting pushed down. Weren't getting a lot of push. They couldn't protect them. Miscommunication. They struggled this year. And today was just another evidence of that. It's just, not able to protect your quarterback, not able to score points in the second half. Those things eventually, and then all the injuries, at some point, all this stuff's going to catch up to you. And it did this year, unfortunately. And just think about it. In this losing streak, they just needed one win in this losing streak.
They sure did. And ultimately, you feel like this season was doomed by the lack of pass protection and the lack of an offensive line that could consistently get the job done. And when you look at the biggest reasons why we're here today talking about the offseason and not a playoff game next week is because they couldn't block well enough on offense.
Yep.
I mean, you could talk about the injuries. Injuries contributed to the fact that they couldn't block well enough on offense. I mean, you look at the guys they had starting on the offensive line today, not the same guys who started the season, that's for sure.
Right.
You don't have your left tackle. You don't have your center. You don't have your right guard. So all you had were your left guard and a rookie right tackle who was learning on the job. And rookie tackles struggle a lot. That's a hard position to learn, being thrown into the fire as a rookie in this league. So ultimately, that was the difference between this team winning another AFC South and being here with the top 15 pick and rebuilding for the future. That, and it's always going to be about the A.J. Brown trade now in hindsight.
Oh, absolutely.
And the lack of weapons that you signed and traded for or acquired to replace A.J.'s production.
And I'm not trying to throw Dylan Radins under the bus. And it's just part of the conversation. Where are you at where you can't even get in the lineup? You had an opportunity and you still couldn't stay there. So what does that say about where he's at in his career as a potential contributor to this franchise? Because with all the injuries and the lack of production on the offensive line, and he's still sitting on the sidelines, there's something there or not there that makes me believe he might not be around next year either.
Yeah, absolutely. 615-737-1045 is our number tonight. Eric in Nashville is up next with us on the phone line. Say, Eric.
Hey, guys, the only reason I didn't call last week was because I had phone issues. So it's every time I called, got through, I got dropped. So it wasn't you guys' fault. So, hey, guys, a couple other quarterbacks. I don't think either one of them coming here that you could probably throw out to are going to be Carson Wentz and Tom Brady. So.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yes, so I throw that out. Guys, let me say this. I'm not going to get into play calling because enough people called about that. I will talk about this. The turning point of the game to me was not the strip sack fumble of Dobbs. It also wasn't his pick. It was the fact that Derrick Henry had a 36-yard run called back because of a holding call. That, to me, was the turning point of the game. Stuff like that is a drive kill. And it seems like all the time stuff like that happens. Whether it's he has a big run, we get a big pass play, and then, of course, the pick happens. And I'm not don't want to get into officiating all that type of stuff, whether or not it should or should not have been called. A lot of pick attack stuff was not called. But also I see stuff like where Troy Aikman pointed out on the interception that there was a block in the back that wasn't called. I heard him say that on the screen.
Yep.
The fact that Mike Vrabel was upset on the sidelines because Josh Knapp had a blow to the head. There was no flag called on that. And even that big punt return, guys, I saw clearly where Titan was held by two Jaguars. That was holding, and there was no flag call. It's just stuff like that that frustrates me. You know, if it's a penalty, it's a penalty, call it. But then when other team or you see other stuff that's clearly you see it, and it seems like a lot of times we just can't catch a break, guys. That's to me the frustrating part. I mean, I'm proud of this team, the way they fought, everything, the way they played, but it's just stuff like that, guys. It's just, I don't know what to say. Guys, it's been a great season. Y'all take care, tighten up, and we'll talk to you again next year.
Appreciate the call. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, appreciate that one, Eric.
Kevin, what was your view on the fumble call for Josh Dobbs that was returned by Josh Allen that ultimately changed this game?
I was hoping it wasn't going to be a fumble, man. He got to him right before he can get that arm in forward motion, and it released. And the safety, he good disguise for where he was, and Dobbs held onto the ball just long enough for him to get there. He was a guy in the protection that he wasn't accounted for. If you look how they were sliding to the right there, he was the one guy that wasn't accounted for. And Dobbs gets rid of that a hair quicker. Obviously, we're talking about a different ball game at that point.
Yeah.
Because I really don't believe the way it was going. I don't know if Jacksonville was going to be able to go length of the field on the Titans, and they were on about like the 35 at that point. And Boling had been kicking the ball very well.
Sure.
He could extend the lead a little bit, put the pressure on him a little bit more. You don't know if he completes that throw, he's able to get it off. It's just one of those things. That's one of those things when you're playing chess and you just say, man, good move. He made the defense coordinator for Jacksonville had a good move right there, calling that blitz and the disguise in which it was. He came from depth, and Dobbs held it just long enough for him to get to him.
615-737-1045, our number tonight on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. The Titans trust their home stadium to League Company to tackle their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical problems. They can protect your home, too. Your next play, visit LeagueCompany.com. That's League Company, all you need. 615-737-1045, the number. Jay is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and up next with us tonight. Hey, Jay.
Hey, guys. I just want to preface this by saying that I really don't mind that we lost. We were never going to do anything in the playoffs anyway, so might as well get a better draft pick. Number two, I remember calling in at the beginning of the season after we got blown out by Buffalo saying that this was going to be a wasted season. You guys tried to say that I was wrong. Turns out I was right. I know everybody's going to blame it on injuries. It's not the injuries. It is Mike Vrabel. It is the same story every year with Mike Vrabel. People have pointed out Todd Downing. It's not Todd Downing. This is the same offense we've run since Vrabel has been head coach. It's very predictable. It's easy to scheme against. It's not hard. They already fired John Robinson. They need to get rid of Vrabel too, because nothing is going to change. They are never going to win a big game with this guy. Send him back to Ohio State. Have him join that program. They don't win there either. Get him out of Nashville. They need to start over. They need to run a 21st century offense for once, because they will never run it with him. Never, and they will never win.
I'm going to disagree with that.
Really, I should have hung up on him when he said he was wishing for the team to lose, honestly. So.
Yeah.
Because I think that's pathetic, honestly.
When Arthur was here, it was a little more innovative, I felt like. I think he also had A.J. Brown. You saw some things he was able to utilize A.J. Brown with, utilize his skill set as a ball carrier, reverses, screens. They went a little bit more vertical when A.J. Brown was here. Seeing a bit more diversity in a passing game where Arthur was here than with Downing. So I would tend to agree with Vrabel and his offensive philosophy. I think his philosophy is, you got one of the best running backs, one of the best players in the game at your disposal. When you're a defensive-minded coach, you think about time of possession and total possessions. And I think that's where his flaw is sometimes, to the caller's point of the caller wants the back and forth, track meet, ball in the air, 34 to 38 type game. And truth be told, that's not Vrabel's MO, man. He wants to play solid defense, play the game, looking at total possessions, thinking about down and distances, run the football effectively. And if he had A.J. Brown as he had, he was letting the ball go a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Arthur was letting the ball go a little bit more.
Yep.
I just think there was a lot of things going this year where they got ultra conservative in the play calling, and I don't know if that's a Downing thing. He's going to take the blame for all of it, or is it the player thing? Is it the offensive line thing where it changes your philosophy and how you want to call the game? There's a lot of different factors that go involved in that, but ultimately it's going to fall on, to the college point, on Vrabel. And so before Vrabel, you got to make a change in offense. And we're all assuming that Downing is going to be that casualty to jump on the sword.
We'll see if there's a change made, and I think there are lots of changes that are on the table. That is for sure as soon as Monday. But this idea that you needed to lose tonight to get a better draft pick is just ridiculous.
It wasn't going to be that much better.
It's absolutely ridiculous that the difference in, 10 picks at the very most?
At the most.
Between winning this game and keeping Trevor Lawrence from his first playoff game and keeping Jacksonville from taking that next step as a franchise now that you're going to have to deal with. Yeah, I'd much rather have Jacksonville not know what it's like to play a playoff game with Trevor Lawrence than have a marginally better pick.
I mean, there's only so many playoff spots. You want your team in there. I don't know why anybody would root for their team not to make the playoffs. I don't care if you don't think they can make a run in the Super Bowl. There's only 12 spots. You know what I mean? There's not that many spots for the National Football 14, that for the playoffs. And if your team is in there, that's a good year in National Football League. You just think about the franchises that haven't made it in the length of time. When's the last time Carolina's been in? It was about 6-7 years ago. When was the last time Detroit has been in it? Like Cleveland. Like, think about some of these people that have been watching their team and not been relevant for a very, very long time. And to wish for your team not to make the playoffs for a draft pick when there's no guarantees on that anyway. You know, there's going to be moves. We can assume they're going to draft the best available offensive lineman at whatever pick they have. But you don't know what they're going to do for agency.
And we don't even know who the GM's going to be.
We don't even know who the GM is.
I mean, it's... Oh, my goodness. 615-737-1045, the number if you want to jump in. Anthony is in Madison, Tennessee. Let's see if we can do better than that last call here. What's going on, Anthony? Hey, Anthony. All right. There's so much for Anthony. We go to Jason in Nashville up next here on the phone lines. Hey, Jason.
Hey, thanks for taking my call, man. And I appreciate y'all's show. Hey, man, look, let me just say this, man. I appreciate the effort that they put in. All the problems that they had, whether it's offensive line, making critical mistakes, all this stuff, there was nothing shown tonight that we didn't know that the Titans had weaknesses in.
Right.
And so it's not going to be like a surprise, but like Vrabel said, they got out there and they gave it their all. That's all you could ask for. My thing is, like Delaney Walker said, it's in times like these that you see who is truly Titans fans and who are fans of just teams winning. Because some fans are just fans of winning. They're not really dedicated to the Titans. So when you call in and saying, well, if they don't do this, then I'm not a Titans fan anymore, you never was in the beginning. You were only a fan of success. So that's what separates you. So we're going to have to learn, like Dyson, we're going to have to learn to separate the wheat from the weeds. So if we're going to get rid of some of these players and correct that, I'm hoping some of these fake Titan fans will jump off the ship too, so that we can get all this confusion out of the way, man. So I'm glad about what they did tonight, and I'm looking forward to next season. Y'all have a blessed day.
Yeah.
Thank you for the call, Jason. Appreciate it.
I never root for my team to lose.
It's just a crazy idea to me.
I don't.
Crazy.
I mean, only one could you say maybe with the Chicago versus Houston right now?
Right.
I mean, I would rather have number one than number two, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of pressure with that number one pick, but other than that, I just don't agree with rooting for your team to lose, man.
And that's only ever understandable, Kevin, when you have a generational quarterback like Trevor Lawrence who's up for grabs for the team that loses a game or doesn't lose one game.
Yeah.
Who's that guy the Titans are going to get at 10 that's really all that different at 22 or 23?
I don't know.
I mean, and that quarterback might not even be in this draft period because that quarterback, quote unquote, that's the Trevor Lawrence or Joe Burrow is probably Caleb Williams or Drake May the next year.
Think about this though. Trevor Lawrence, his draft, he's a pretty good football player, right?
Absolutely.
What about all those guys after him? How they been? And then Andrew Luck. We'll go back to his draft. He was pretty good up until the injuries.
Yep.
All the guys after him, how have they been? There's been some decent ones, right? But my point is, those guys, the quote unquote guarantees. I never like to hear that guarantee. You just don't know how it's going to pan out. Injuries, free agency, all those things that factor into the quality of a career.
Right.
Is just we're seeing a young quarterback develop right in front of us who matured from not just from one season to the next, from one half of a season to the second half of a season, and he's putting his name in the conversation as an elite, and he's still got a ways to go. But to say that we're going to get that guy that once in a lifetime, that Peyton Manning, that Tom Brady, which at that time Tom Brady was a 7th round pick, so we can't even say that about him. He just developed into that.
Right.
If to say you're going to get that guy at 10, 11, I don't know the history of the draft of quarterbacks that have been at that pick. I'm trying to think, even like Dan Marino. Dan Marino was 16, I think he was. And that was a pretty good draft with him, Dan Marino, John Elway,
right,
and all those guys. So that was a pretty stout draft.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I don't know, man.
Those don't grow on trees, for
sure.
They
don't. They don't. It's hard. And the way the league is and the way it has progressed in the bounce free agency, it's even harder. And how comparison to high school and college football and how offenses are run compared to the National Football League, who seems to be behind a little bit on that. They're playing catch up a little bit. But I still think based on roster spots, the total amount, like you can only have so many people dressed out. You have to that limits you to how much you can do certain things. We've seen Chip Kelly try to bring a complete college type offense to National Football League. It worked for a little while, but then they caught up. Get your quarterback hurt, your receivers banged up, your linemen. There's only so much you can do at times. You can't holistically go to a complete offensive style of play calling with the limitations on rosters. You have seen the limitations of rotating through 80 to 90 to 100 guys on a roster in front of you for the past 2 years with a team to sit there and say to go into a college style offense when you only have 47 guys to pick from every week. You can't. So that is the just why you're seeing some of the college type offenses sprinkled in, just because the way guys are being developed from a young age to these spread offenses. I'm just talking about offense now particularly, and how the quarterbacks are not going on the center. Receivers are big and fast and not line up in huddle. You're seeing elements of that to a certain degree, but you still have to protect your investment. And the biggest one of all is that quarterback. And the way college game does it with zone reads and all that kind of stuff, they don't necessarily protect them as much as they do in the National Football League.
And you don't have as many offensive linemen who can block in a road grader, run first, downhill, pro-style offense as you used to be able to either.
Nope.
That's for sure.
They're much more sleek and leaner.
Right.
They have to. Think about the guys coming off the edge. The guys are 6'5", 250 pounds, running 4.3, 4.4.
Right.
I have to be lean.
And that's got to dictate the choices you now make in this franchise moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. 615-737-1045, our number here on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. League Company, all you need online at leaguecompany.com. And it's time for our final Kroger sacks for cash this season. And tonight, the Titans had one more sack, courtesy of Tier Tart. And for the season, Kroger's donation to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee now stands at $4,400. Every time the Titans sack the opposing team's quarterback, Kroger donates $100 to Second Harvest Food Bank of Middle Tennessee through its Zero Hunger, Zero Waste plan. Kroger is committed to ending hunger in our communities. More of your phone calls when we come back. Devin in Nashville will lead us off after the break on Titans Talkback on 104.5 The Zone. Titans fall to the Jacksonville Jaguars 20-16 tonight. The season comes to an end with a 7th consecutive loss as we wrap things up here on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. Facility managers need a reliable partner for their HVAC, plumbing, and electrical needs. They trust League Company's 24/7 service and their team of experts. Your next play, visit leaguecompany.com. That's League Company, all you need. With Kevin Dyson, I'm Will Boling. Brett Batchelor making the show happen for us tonight as we go back to the phones, hearing from Devin in Nashville up next on Titans Talkback. Hey, Devin.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Thank you.
How you doing, man?
Yep.
Doing well. I just wanted to say, Dobbs hasn't had a whole lot of career starts. Coming out tonight, he did 20 for 29. I saw him going 21 for 30, so I was one pass off on that. That was kind of expected. I don't think that we get rid of him. I think he could be the future if we have enough weapons. He needs an O-line, and I honestly could see him being what we saw out of Ryan Tannehill in 2019.
Yeah, thanks, Devin. I would see it very hard to believe that Josh Dobbs is quarterback 1 next year. I think Josh Dobbs needs to be brought back, though, as your backup quarterback.
You think he's the backup over Willis now?
I think so. And Malik could still be the quarterback of the long-term future if you, had a new general manager who believed in him and believed that he could be developed. But I think the way the league is now, if you're going to go that route, you've got to have a backup that can step in and do what Dobbs did these past 2 games and 2 starts where he was pretty good.
Yeah, he was solid. I will say this, though. He's been around the league 5-6 years, and whether he's got play experience or not, he has experience. Compared to Willis, there's usually a big jump from year 1 to year 2.
Right.
You have time, time in the offseason to study, develop, evaluate, get better. He'll attend OTAs, rookie mini camps. He'll be a part of all that process. He'll get all the reps he can. Specifically, since Tannehill is injured, he will get all the reps he wants. So I think there's going to be more of a competition for that 2 spot than what you're thinking, because I think the anticipation is because he does have some skill set. Even today I saw where Dobbs is limited when he gets outside the pocket.
Right.
He can run. He's not as dynamic as Willis, where that 8-yard gain could have been 16-20 with Willis. So you always got to factor that in. So to me, it's not as easily cut and dry because usually there's such a dramatic jump from year 1 to year 2 with players in the National Football League. And that's even if you played all 17 games.
Right.
Just because there's a different, you know how to prepare, you know how to train, you know how to pace. You're more familiar with the playbook, the coaching staff, all that sort of thing. There's a lot of stuff that go into that next jump. Being able to be stationary and be in an organization for a whole offseason, that can be underestimated. Right. So I think there's going to be an open competition. I do think Dobbs is ahead of Malik Willis. Obviously now that just the look test alone shows that, but I think the franchise will look at this as a competition for whoever it is behind Tannehill, or if they go a different direction from that spot.
615-737-1045, our number here on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company, all you need, and online at leaguecompany.com. We go next to Thurman, calling here in Tennessee. Next up, hey, Thurman.
Hey.
What's up?
I was just disappointed that the Titans lost, but I'm ticket holder since they came with the Memphis to see them play before they ever got here, so I'm playing Vanderbilt. But just disappointed in that the element of surprise, and we need to have Derek in there on 3rd down for play action. You just got to keep Derek in there for the play action, it halts the linebackers and the linemen at least a second, which gives your quarterback slightly, another second of time.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Thurman. Appreciate it. I think we needed to see a lot more play action in this game. Specifically on first
down. 20, a time or 2?
24 runs and 4 passes on first down in this game.
And I think of those 4, 2 of them were some sort of play fake.
Right.
So I mean, at some point, use your best asset as the best decoy you can.
Yeah.
Because it worked on those last 2 runs of Dobbs when they did some zone reads. He kept it. You saw everybody chasing Derrick Henry, and he was able to get out. I think the first one went for about 8-9, the second one for about 5. So, I mean, from our standpoint, you're averaging right at 6 yards a carry. We'll take that.
615-737-1045. Adam is in Portland up next with us tonight here live on Titans Talkback. Hey, Adam.
Hey, Will. Dr. Dice, man. I'm proud of you guys' show this year, man.
Thank you.
And
appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man.
Put a good one on all the time. Let me tell you this, though. For the Titans fans that I think it took me like 20 calls to finally get through tonight, if you're going to do that, put that effort forth just to say fire Mike Vrabel, like, dude, it makes our fan base look stupid. It makes us look dumb. Like, if you're saying Vrabel's the problem, Downey's not the problem, Vrabel's the problem, and you're just going to keep getting the same thing. Dude, just go to bed. Like, nobody wants to hear that. I thought for Josh Dobbs, man, great job. He knows Tennesseans love him anyway. Great job under the circumstances coming in and putting an effort like that. Like, if you're leadership for the Titans and you're going, what's my first step for my new GM? Don't put another quarterback out there who's just going to get killed. I mean, I think Josh did everything he could possibly do with what he had. And like I said, man, great season from you guys. I wouldn't address the quarterback right away. I would leave that guy in place and start building around him.
Thanks for the call, Adam. And that is the struggle of where you are now, going into this draft, is that I don't think that quarterback, the transcendent talent that you would need to take that big next leap, is not going to be there at 10, 11, 12, 13, wherever you pick. So at that point, Kevin Dyson, I think there is a scenario where you probably trade back out of where you are. And it's impossible to know these things without knowing who the GM is and even knowing where the pick is.
That's what I want to see, who's going to be the GM.
But for the sake of the conversation and talking about surrounding Ryan Tannehill and surrounding this team with other weapons and other players, you need all the draft capital you've got, and you've got to hit on a lot of picks wherever they may be in order to fix this offensive line and fix the pass protectors, because it doesn't matter who that quarterback is when they're running for their life against defensive fronts week in and week out. And it doesn't matter who your wide receivers are if you can't hold long enough to get on the ball on the outside.
Let me go to the GM thing. I wonder how much Vrabel will have insight or input on that potential hire. Reason I say that is because him and JR seem to be on the same accord, coming from organization where they had a lot of success as far as the Patriots. They both were preaching similar rhetoric in the type of player and individual they wanted in the locker room. So they seem to be on the same page, especially early on. I don't know where and if the relationship ever went sour, but something was disconnected between the two and the philosophy. I still think they have an idea of, I want hard-nosed, intelligent football players in our locker room, good guys. And I think for the most part, that has held true. But you also got to get dogs. You also got to get guys that are just going to go make plays. It just are players. And I don't know where the disconnect went with JR and Vrabel, where they didn't seem to be in step as much as they did early on. Like, you remember on, you saw one, you saw the other, it seemed like they seem to be on step. For whatever reason, the last year and a half, it hasn't been that. And I don't know if the strain of all the movement of players, the record they have set the past year and a half, last 2 years, I don't know if that has. I don't know. But this next guy, that is crucial. That's why I'm interested to know if Vrabel is going to be in on these conversations with this new GM, because philosophically, Vrabel has an idea what he wants in that locker room.
Right.
This GM may be somebody similar to a guy who wants a guy like McVay, a young, innovative guy who's going to put points on the board.
Right.
Regardless of anything else, put points on the board. So you got to be very cautious of the guy you bring in, because if it is a younger guy, is he going to bring a guy in like what's down in Miami?
Mike McDaniel?
Yeah.
Had the same exact losing streak to end the season this year.
Come on.
6 in a row to fall out of a playoff spot.
Fall out of a playoff spot.
Yeah.
But he's a bright young coach.
Right.
Is that what you want here in Tennessee?
Right.
So, you got to be careful what you ask for. Vrabel had a formula that has been working. Unfortunately, it caught up to him, and it didn't necessarily catch up to him. The formula didn't necessarily catch up to him. The injuries within that formula has caught up to him. They couldn't replace what they had that when it was working, because the guys behind them didn't necessarily meet the level of expectations all the time, specifically on offense.
And tonight, that Titans team watched the Jacksonville Jaguars become the first team in NFL history to make the playoffs following consecutive 14-loss seasons. Pretty unbelievable. 615-737.
Talk about your franchise not making the playoffs in a long time, but you didn't even mention them.
Right. Absolutely. 615-737-1045 here on Titans Talkback, presented by League Company. League Company, all you need online at leaguecompany.com. We go to Adam in Nashville up next as we begin to wrap things up. Hey, Adam.
Hey, man. Okay, so first of all, don't hang up on me, as I'm halfway between that awful caller and I'm definitely a Titans fan. So, like tonight, absolutely, I was rooting for them to win because, hey, if they won tonight, then it's we're starting the season over again, so to speak, and there's a chance that it's small, but there's a chance we could have gone to the Super Bowl. Yes, it's small, but there was a chance. However, I was thinking the same thing that other guy was thinking after we lost to the Bills, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're awful, and we might as well just lose the rest of the season to get a good draft pick.
Right.
And then the team proved me wrong. But see, now I work Saturday and Sunday, so I listen. Everything I get from the two of you or from the radio. I never watch them. I always listen. And I've listened to both of you say, or at least one of the two of you say, within the last 3 weeks, something along the lines of, we kind of basically lost our opportunity to make it all the way to the Super Bowl a season or two ago. Just because of the way, because it's the NFL is so balanced. And so that's kind of where I come down. I mean, and then as far as Vrabel goes, and again, I get everything I know pretty much from the two of you. I personally like Vrabel, and you were just talking about how Vrabel did really well at the Patriots.
Hey, Adam,
well,
we do actually have to run because we are out of time here today, so I appreciate the call, but we are up against the end of the hour here, so we have got to keep it moving. So, Kevin, that pretty much wraps us up for the season, and Adam, you kind of get the final word there, but ultimately, like we've said, and we'll say it again, the window was wide open last year. The window was still open for this season, but it was at its most open a season ago. I think is the best way to wrap that up.
Yeah, I think you may have misheard us on a couple things. I never said he was, the opportunity was gone. I think they had last year was probably their greatest opportunity. I think the biggest monkey wrench in that was when Derrick Henry went down.
Right.
It wasn't for the season. He got back in the playoffs, but that was the biggest monkey wrench, and they still got the number one seed. I still think there's some good football in this team. Is a Super Bowl caliber, not in the current state. We obviously because they didn't make the playoffs, but it's going to be an interesting offseason, man. Starting with the GM hire.
Certainly will. And Titans radio coverage is produced by Philip Noel and Brad Willis. Studio producer Joe Hunkapiller. Scoreboard producer is Lucas Panzica. Promotions director Rich Ferris. Director of sales Hunter Rice. General manager Allison Warren. Operations managers Charlie Cook and Paul Mason. The executive producer of Titans radio is Rhett Bryan. For Kevin Dyson and Brett Batchelor, I'm Will Boling saying good night. Thanks for listening all season. Titans Talkback presented by League Company. Online at leaguecompany.com. We'll see you next fall on 104.5 The Zone.